Oh, hello and good afternoon. I welcome you to today's hot topic webinar together with Admirals here on it's Wednesday. It's the 19th of May 2021, and today we want to have a look at a very fascinating topic. In fact, I just updated the slides because I just realized that I forgot to include one of my, in fact, hot topic stocks, hot stocks. I'd definitely have a look at if I plan to invest, also not just to invest longer term in this space, in the artificial intelligence space, but also to to trade it actively, because the stock is very interesting also from a trading perspective. But I will tell you a little later during this presentation which stock I just included. First of all, what we want to do today is we want to focus on what is artificial intelligence, what is AI. You probably have heard about this. And in this context, I mean, it's like we could just talk about this, but I also included a little video here within this presentation to just give you an idea on how this works and how this plays out. It's not really where it's artificial intelligence, but it's a sub area, let's call it, subsector of artificial intelligence. In this case, it's called deep learning. What this is, and also what machine learning is, we want to look at. We want to introduce this. Then we want to have a look at how the AI software market looks like at this very moment here. And then at the end, I will give you some investment, some trading ideas on my top three, in fact, AI investment ideas, trading ideas I have, plus the one I just included several seconds ago. So let's start with today's presentation. And just let me share my screen here. By the way, if you watch this now on YouTube, if you are here in the YouTube channel from Admirals, then if you just like what you will see, what you will witness in the upcoming minutes, please leave a thumb up here. Subscribe to the YouTube channel from Admirals. Leave a comment in the section below if you have any questions. If there are any investment trade ideas you have, or something I didn't cover here within this presentation, please feel free to add it in the chat box. Ask your questions there. Please just feel free to do that. And so we want to now have a look here, first of all, before we start with today's agenda, at the current rebranding taking place at Admirals. You probably have heard it. You've probably seen it. It's not the first webinar you're seeing here in the YouTube channel from Admirals, respectively, and the webinar itself in Zoom here. So there's currently a rebranding taking place. Admirals is a global financial service provider, and many know Admirals as, especially here in Germany, as a so-called DAX expert with a highly competitive, probably the most competitive DAX offering out there. Also a very competitive broker when it comes to FX. We talked already in several webinars in the past about the very competitive spreads which are offered here. And so for traders, Admirals is one of the first choices to have a look at. But now Admiral is also going in the, let's call it, broader financial service sector, with offering, for example, a MasterCard, not a Visa card, a credit card. Yeah, that was the word. A credit card, for example, and it's making its way, the broker is making its way to become a broader broker, a true financial service provider, and not just focusing on traders, but also, you've probably already seen it on Invest Solutions. So that's just no coincidence that we are also looking here at physical stocks or ETFs today, and look at it from an investment perspective. But now it's also becoming an expert in the other financial service areas like credit cards and payment solutions. And this comes from time to time. And thus, that being said, this is one of the main reasons why this rebranding is currently taking place from Admiral Markets to Admirals, even though you still can find the website. If you look at admiralmarkets.com, you will be redirected to admirals.com. But yeah, just for your information, what all this is about, Admirals and the rebranding taking place. So we want to today have a look here at the following questions, or answer the following questions. So first of all, what is artificial intelligence? What is AI? Then what is AI? What is ML? And what is DL? So ML short for machine learning, DL short for deep learning. And then for better understanding, as I already mentioned here, we want to give an example of how this deep learning looks in the real world. And then in the next step, we want to look at the current situation in the AI software market. We already had some insights in the past, especially when it comes to Nvidia. Probably remember the webinar we did, the hot topic webinar we did on Nvidia, also a big player in the AI space. So some of you probably will call me an Nvidia fanboy. I'm really I'm a big fan of the products from Nvidia, not just having a graphic card here within my laptop, but also in addition to that, with all the other areas Nvidia is looking at, also in the artificial or the AI space. And yeah, at the end, my top 3 AI investment ideas, respectively, trade ideas, respectively, plus the one I just included. So first of all, let's have a look here at the question: what is artificial intelligence? By the way, let me just check out. I just realized that I have not yet opened the YouTube channel. So probably 1 sec. Let me just open that if there are any questions so that I do not miss any of your questions. It'll take a little longer here. 1 sec. Let me just open that here. So right here in the Zoom webinar, everything seems to be fine because here I cannot see any questions as of now being open or unanswered. So that's very good. Perfect. So let me just answer here. Hello, traders. So that you see I'm here. So if you have any questions, feel free to use the chat box right on the right. So now let's have a look here at the first question in this context, and have a look here at the question: what is artificial intelligence? So first of all, artificial intelligence, or short AI, is intelligence demonstrated by machines. And unlike the natural intelligence displayed by humans and animals, which involves consciousness and emotionality. So obviously it's something which is not human or normal. And here, there is now a distinction between the former and the latter, which categories is often revealed by the acronym being chosen. So if we talk about strong AI, so strong artificial intelligence, it's usually labeled as AGI, so artificial general intelligence. While if we talk about emulation of natural intelligence, we talk about something we refer to as ABI, so artificial biological intelligence. So which is very interesting now, because I just saw in the chat box that Vincenzo wrote, "Ich bin ein AI." So this is German for "I am an AI." So now the question is, what kind of artificial intelligence is that? I would say he's emulating natural intelligence, so human being speaking, which means that this is something we usually refer to as ABI in this context. And leading AI textbooks define the field as the study of intelligent agents. So any device that perceives its environment and takes actions that maximize its chances of successfully achieving its goals. So this is what AI is referred to in textbooks when you study this in university. And colloquially, the term artificial intelligence is often used to describe machines or computers here that mimic cognitive functions that humans associate with the human mind, such as learning or problem solving in this context. So the AI space, by the way, is also in the world of trading something which is becoming more and more important. So probably you've read the book already, The Man Who Solved the Market, respectively. Yeah, it's The Man Who Solved the Market, I think was the word for that. This is I think it's a biography. I think we can call this, from Jim Simons. He's the founder of Rentech. It's Renaissance Technologies. It's probably the most successful hedge fund in the world. And I'm not really sure about the performance stats, but they're crazy. So they have an annual growth or yields, an annual performance of something like close to 40% after deducting performance fees, management fees, and all this, and this for a period of over 30 years, if I'm not mistaken. So really, really good, probably the most successful hedge fund out there. And this is noteworthy because they have probably, in terms of especially management fee, probably the highest management fees once you put your money your money under management from them, with 5% per year. So they have to make 5% so that you are breaking even, or even more than that, because it's minus 5% at the beginning. So this is very, very high. Still, they have no real problem to overcome this hurdle. Let's say these minus 5% every year, over and over again. And one of the main reasons is because they're using AI within their trading actively. So Jim Simons is a former code breaker in the Cold War, end of the 1960s. He was working for the CIA, I think then, Central Intelligence Agency, as a mathematician. He's also a PhD in mathematics. He's also, I'm not really sure if he's a speaker / a professor on mathematics, but he's also very active in this field, still very active. So he's over 80 years old as of now. And so to make long thing short, this is already something which plays an important role in the world of trading. And so AI here has already proven that that it can make money. Let's put it in a simple way. What's now interesting is, in fact, when we talk about artificial intelligence, it's very important to see that there are subsets of artificial intelligence. This is a very, very interesting field, in fact. So artificial intelligence, this is a chart I screenshotted from the web. So you can find the source here at the bottom. And what this perfectly illustrates is how artificial intelligence is the whole area, which consists of subsets like machine learning and deep learning. So artificial intelligence in this context is any technique that enables computers to mimic human intelligence using logic, if-then rules, decision trees, and machine learning, including deep learning. This is one thing which is probably noteworthy. Have a look here. If-then rules. If this happens, then do this and that. So you have to, and this is one of the reasons why this is also interesting from a psychological perspective. And you probably remember the last webinar we did last week on Friday. Yeah, it was Friday. When I said I have a game plan every day, which here consists of, I say, if this and that happens, it's my checklist, if you want. If this and that happens, then I do this and that. So I try to be as, if you want, robotic as possible within my trading. And this is something which AI here, for example, is based on. So they say, if this and that happens, then we do this and that. And there's no emotion attached to that or something. So no second guessing, let's say, or I'm questioning if this is a profitable spot or something like that. It is. It has a positive expectancy given the most recent numbers. And that being said, it then gives you here the trade. So the result is the trade. If this happens, then I put in the trade based on the risk parameter rules I give in and all this. And let me just, by the way, I have to, well, we're talking about if then, so I have to fill in some details here in my trading sheet for today. Two stocks I'm currently watching. By the way, no of the AI stocks we want to talk about. And so now let's have a look here at the first subset, machine learning in this context. So machine learning, you probably have heard about this. It's a subset of AI that includes abstruse statistical techniques that enable machines to improve a task with experience. The category includes deep learning. And this is getting, for someone from who is not familiar with that, or who has not seen AI in action, this is getting now really abstract. That's one of the reasons why we'll have the next slide where you'll see, and I will already tell you what the aim is here, in fact. And we have another subset of machine learning, which is obviously then also in a subset of artificial intelligence, it's deep learning, the subset of machine learning composed of algorithms that permit software to train itself to perform tasks like speech and image recognition. Image recognition, remember that? Nvidia, the graphic card powerhouse in the world. So you can already see if you have something to do with graphics in this context, then you already can see why Nvidia here, for example, as one of a simple example, why Nvidia is of interest for us in this space, because they can use all their technology and their knowledge in this space here when it comes to pattern recognition or image recognition or whatever, to then build algorithms which recognize this and which can then automatically learn given their recent input parameters. And so what they do is by exposing multi-layered neural networks to vast amounts of data. So again, this can be kind of abstract, but it's very easy to understand. So they mimic to some extent human behavior and how we learn, and they program systems to learn that way. So just imagine a little baby, a little boy, my boy, for example, learning how to walk. So what he does initially is, first of all, he starts to crawl. So, right. So this is what he initially does. Then he tries to step up, hold somewhere, and then one step after the other. The next thing is that he tries to avoid, for example, I don't know. He tries to avoid to run in front or into a wall, let's say. So, and that is something he learns step by step, and he saves all his experiences. And based on the most recent experiences, he then gets better and better and better and better. So, right. So you do something, okay, you come to a certain point and there you fail. And then you start over again. So like, let's do this for trading. That's probably the best way because it's a trading webinar. So we take a trade. Okay. So we have a strategy, we test the strategy, and we recognize a pattern. Let's put it that way. We recognize a pattern. So we have the pattern, and it says, well, we have a range, which we define high and low, and then we see a breakout out of this range, and the market moves in direction of the breakout. So we don't really talk about the parameters. So what we then do is we then look at the breakout, and we put another layer here on this breakout and say, for example, well, now look at the volume and try to improve the likelihood of the trade being success based on the volume we look at. So, for example, there might be a certain a threshold which you have to overcome, like 0.2% of the trading range or of the index reading in case of the DAX, for example, so that you have to have, let's say, an index reading of 15,000 points, and then you say 0.2%, this has to be the range width. And based on that, you then find out, okay, if the range width is greater than 0.2%, but smaller than, let's say, 0.4%, the likelihood of the breakout performing well over a certain period of time is more likely than if we trade breakouts of smaller ranges, which say are smaller than 0.2%, for example. And this is something you go through. I mean, we would do this now over and over again, and would take us hours, probably days, probably months. For a computer, it's like you put in the data, and then it starts to analyze the data given your input parameters. Check the range if it's greater than that, but smaller than that. And then based on that, show me how this system performed in this context. And so this is something where you already can see how this deep learning, how this whole process is working in the real world, even though I think this is probably even a better example now. So what we have here is a video, and what it does is you have here, you have a track. Okay, so these are cars. In this case, these are cars, and what this does now is it tries to get the car driving by itself without a human being, given the input parameters. So what it does is, in fact, it calculates how far it comes here in the first instance until it runs into a wall. And then we start over again. We use the input parameters, which brought us to some point, and we continue. And once we overcome this not period, but this way. So in terms of how far we got with our car here, if we can overcome this, then we use this until we again breach a wall, then we turn again back to the start, and then we start over again. And this way, the algorithm learns to improve every time he takes a oh, I'm sorry. Doesn't it work? Well, let me just see. Okay, this is bad. Let me just see. I thought it was a video. So one second. Let me just see. And usually it should, I should just click the play button and then it should start playing, but it doesn't. Why? Oh gosh, no. One sec. Let me just see how this works. How can I? So I have a video here. Oh no. Oh no. I really look forward to this. One second. Let me just see. I have to just 1 second. I have to see. Where's the presentation? Admirals English. So it's May, and we have the AI. Let me just see. Hopefully that works. Yes, I want. Okay, let me do it that way. Let me do it that way. 1 second. Let me just use this one here. Hello? Doesn't work. Do it that way then. 1 second. Let me just do it that way then. Ah, okay. There we go. So here we have it. So now have a look. Okay, these are the cars. As you can see, the green one is going the longest way. And now it takes all the data from before to improve and get better each time. Okay, so there is no human being involved or something like that, but it's just that we have here the car driving by, as you can see now, it starts to improve. So there's two cars and then they follow each other. So this is now the better one. And we continue to do this over and over and over and over again. And this is now where you can also understand. Let me just see how long this takes. Okay, so it's 3 minutes. I think you probably already understand what I'm talking about and what all this is about. So it's learning based on most recent of the most recent past and based on the data you put in there, and to just improve here. To just improve every time over and over again. So what we usually do when we trade, you try to do this here with the help of an algorithm, which tries to improve each time. And this is, by the way, also something which you can already see becoming very important when it comes, for example, to self-driving cars, Tesla, for example. You could also here use Google. Google is the same. So all companies which are collecting large sums of data, they do this mainly to build these AI, respectively machine learning, respectively deep learning tools, and build algorithms which improve and self-improve over and over and over again. So let me just stop this now. So let's now do the following. I'm sorry, by the way, this is wrong. So now let's go to the next slide. So what we want to do now is we want to have a look here at the AI software market now, and then take it from there and look at the top 3 investment ideas I have in this space. So first of all, the global artificial intelligence software market is forecast to grow rapidly in the upcoming years. So reaching around, let's say, 126 billion USD by 2025. And the overall AI market includes a wide array of applications here, such as natural language processing. Probably you've heard about this. This is NLP. This is also something which is interesting when it comes to psychology. So probably you heard about Tony Robbins, for example. So he's using a NLP within his motivational speeches, and in addition to that, it's most of this is based on language, how you process language, let's say. And obviously what you can process based on data and how you can optimize this is something where then computers talking to you come into play. Probably I've heard this story about this call which was made in front of a big audience from someone to a computer, but this guy didn't know that he was talking to a computer, because the computer was capable of reacting to the way he was talked to by the human being. So it wasn't really possible to differentiate between the computer and the human being. So the guy who made the call wasn't capable of saying whether he was talking to a computer or whether he was talking to a human being. And this is something where here NLP, so natural language processing, comes into play, but also robotic process automation and machine learning. And many of the biggest names, as we already talked about in the Nvidia presentation here, in the tech industry, have invested heavily into both the AI acquisition and AI related research and development field. And when it comes to AI here, patent applications by company, then we have Microsoft, IBM, Google, and Samsung, who have each submitted thousands of such applications. And when you wonder where I get these numbers or this data from, for further information, please feel free to check out here this link on statista.com. And here also an idea on the expected growth in this AI sector over the next upcoming years, which is now, in fact, bringing us directly to my top 3 investment ideas within the space, or probably top 4. And the reason for that is because from a risk reward perspective, the picture just got massively more attractive than it was once I built or prepared this presentation. So probably you have seen, this is something we usually refer as a growth sector. So a sector where which usually outperforms in an environment where there's massive liquidity injections, cheap liquidity, and where this money is reinvested, and there's no dividends being paid, for example, as for classic value titles. And as you probably have seen last week, especially, but also the week before, with the comments from Janet Yellen, but also with the comments, or not the comments, but the release of the inflation data, which came in last week on Wednesday, probably have seen that the numbers are pointing to higher inflation, and higher inflation usually goes hand in hand with rising yields. Rising yields is something you don't want to see once you position yourself in such a growth environment. So this is definitely something to keep an eye on. So probably we haven't yet seen the bottom, especially in the AI sector. Probably there is another leg lower in this context, which is also true for other companies, growth companies like Tesla, for example, currently eyeing its March lows, which is also corresponding with the spike higher in yields, but also going hand in hand, for example, with the current developments in the ARK Innovation ETF we talked about earlier, I think 2 weeks ago, if I'm not mistaken. So all these developments right now are driving prices in the growth sector in general, lower. But, and that being said, I mean, I think which probably already became clear also when it comes to the developments of the last years. This is most likely the future. So this is something where everything points in which direction everything points, and thus investment, or at least putting parts of your portfolio in the AI sector makes, in my opinion, definitely sense. And so this is why we want to know, look at the most not valuable companies in this context, but probably at the companies which I think have the biggest growth potential, especially in the current space, even though companies like Microsoft, IBM, Google, Samsung, these are already players which should probably at least be part of an overall well-diversified portfolio. So here are my top 3 AI, artificial intelligence investments. So first of all, it's pins. So probably I've heard about Pinterest. Horrible, really horrible, because every time I get how's it called? A little ad, or not, it's not an ad, but a reminder that there are new pins available. And I have never, ever used this. I just saw my wife sometimes sitting hours in front of her smartphone, just scrolling around and saying, oh, this looks nice, and this looks nice, and this looks nice. And it was like, what are you doing there? And she was watching pictures of whatever she was looking for. And then I once Googled, I don't know what, I probably was because I just wanted to see which tie suits my my suit best. I don't know. And then I Googled it, and I saw that I needed to be not logged in, but registered with Pinterest. And I thought, well, okay, fair enough. I just want to see this because that was promising. That looked promising. And then after registering there, I started to get email notifications that new pins are available. And they, as you will see, this is exactly what AI does. It's based on your personal preferences. It's based on what you clicked on. So if you ever wondered why you get the right ads in your Google, in your platform, on whatever website you look at, well, that has something to do with the computer realizing what you do and learning out of what you give as input parameters. And this is horrible because it's 100% individualized, but it keeps you on the screen. And so that explains why my wife, but also I, am from time to time are sitting hours in front of our smartphones just scrolling through pictures, because they somehow they seem attractive to us. Okay, so that might be also true for you, and that already shows the massive influence this whole space has on our daily lives already, and will likely have in the future. And Pinterest in this context is a very interesting take in this context. Then certainly Nvidia. Certainly we have to have a look here at Nvidia, and based on everything I already talked about several weeks ago in our webinar here on Nvidia and what this company makes special. And then we also want to have a look here at an ETF. It's called BOTS. What this is, I will go through in a few seconds. The fourth one, I haven't included it here, but I can already tell you it will be Baidu. Baidu is a giant in the machine learning space, in fact, and then has already seen a massive sell-off over the last weeks that was not necessarily driven by the developments around yields. Also probably, but the flush we saw here in Baidu lower mainly resulted of the fact that there was this massive liquidation taking place around the Archegos Capital Fund, which Paul talked about several days earlier here, and Bill Wang in this context. So, which already shows that this is probably not a fundamentally driven push lower in Baidu, but probably one which has mainly technical reasons. And one of the reasons why this is probably getting more interesting than here from a long-term investment perspective now. So first of all, let's have a look here at pins and then Pinterest. So it's and as I already explained here, American image sharing and social media service helps generating ideas or inspirations on a wide range of activities and having developed methods for image searches that leverages machine learning, computer vision, and recommendation engine to help users search, browse, and organize images and videos. And they do this in a very, very fascinating way, given my personal experience with pins. And probably you have seen the same when it comes to Pinterest. So probably leave a comment, probably in the chat box or somewhere, just to get an idea. Probably it's because of me, and then we have to think about whether this is a great trading opportunity. But all in all, I have to say that the developments here, in my personal world, and that I'm connected to this, which is usually quite uncommon. So usually I'm the more rational guy, and I try to get rid of this behavior, but still it already illustrates me the potential here, this way of analyzing people's and their behavior has. And if it has the impact on me, it's most likely that it will also have this impact on other people's life, and thus this makes sense for me in the longer run for an investment opportunity. And so what I now did here is I also included the last earnings releases. By the way, let me just, I have to be a little careful now because I have too many tabs open here. Let me just reduce this a little. So adjusted earnings per share, it was 11 cents versus 7 cents, so above expectation. Revenue came in at 485 million against 474 million forecasts. Monthly active users, 478 million. So 500 million people using Pinterest. It came in below expectations. This is probably one of the reasons why we saw this drop lower here. So you can see here with the E at the bottom and the elevated volume that we gapped lower, and we continue to trade lower from there. So this is usually a bad sign. For short-term perspective, pins was attractive to be traded from the short side, because what you want to see is continuous growth. So it's a growth title if the numbers which are driving your business here, which is the monthly active users, coming in below expectations, even though still elevated, let's say 478 million, I think this is still a quite solid number. But it came in below expectation, which is negative for the stock, and one of the reasons why you then see here the drop lower. That's the same idea when you trade, for example, stocks like Netflix. Remember, we had this special trading spotlight webinar, hot topic webinar, on how to trade earnings, and we focused here on a real trade I did in Netflix. The numbers came in, that was in January, so already some months ago, but we had the good numbers, which were quite solid, but or no, other way around. So numbers were mixed, let's say. It wasn't really good, but what was outstanding was the streaming paying users. So the people who paid for the streaming services from Netflix. And this number came in significantly above expectation, then resulting in a push higher to new all-time highs. This is common for growth companies. So the numbers can be phenomenal, but if the growth outlook disappoints, at least short term, this could result in a flush on the downside. Something to keep in mind when trading, in fact, growth stocks in general. So that's one of the reasons why we're currently seeing this drop lower. And then we have the average revenue per user, $1.04 against 99 cents. So this is, again, quite solid. So all in all, numbers were good, but the gap down resulted mostly out of the fact that monthly active users were down or came in below expectation. Still, what this happened into was that we dropped a very important region, or attacked here, this region, which is currently attacked. This is around 60 USD. But what's more interesting is that we are testing the overall uptrending line. So this is now getting quite interesting from a risk-reward perspective, in my opinion, for longer-term engagement. So if you plan to play here pins on the long side, the current region is quite attractive, even though, again, given the overall picture I just painted around the growth, not just growth, inflation expectation and rising yields, probably you're not yet done, and probably we will see a deeper break lower, then bringing us down to the lower 40s, probably the higher 30s. and we see a significant run lower. But all in all, the long-term outlook for companies which are in this area here seems still to be very attractive, which means nothing more than the lower we drop now, the higher or the more attractive the risk reward gets on the upside. And I have somehow the feeling that we'll have a quite solid chance here to see a quite significant push higher if we drop this trend line. Even if we drop this short term, if we can stabilize below, or if bears can hold us below 60, then short term, the short side might be of interest, and there might be a more significant break lower. But longer term, pins is definitely of interest for us from the long side, and it seems possible that over the long run we will easily reach here levels of 100 USD per share. So the next one within our list is Nvidia. So we've already seen this chart, respectively the numbers here. I've updated the chart a little. We can see that also here we are now testing this trend line coming in, or coming back into, after the push higher to new all-time highs. We are now back in our trading range, and somehow it looks not that promising, looks a little toppish, but all in all, the overall growth outlook is still valid, especially given the broad audience, or the broad the market Nvidia plays in, let's put it that way. So just for all of you who do not know who Nvidia is, so Nvidia is an American multinational technology company which was founded already in 1993. So I was already talking about Nvidia and their graphic solutions here in the late 90s, when I was talking to my friends in school back then around laptops, buying laptop computers and all that. So it's known not just for these graphic processing units, so GPUs or GeForce, in my case here in the laptop, and probably in your laptop as well, but it's also well positioned in the AI space with a current market cap of 322 billion. Still, I somehow can't imagine, given all the details we discussed in the webinar earlier, that here Nvidia is probably one of the candidates to reach the state of the next 1 trillion USD company after Apple, Amazon. Not really sure who's coming next in there, but I have somehow the feeling that Nvidia is a well-positioned candidate for this. So the latest numbers, earnings were quite good. As you can see, numbers are about to come out here. That is in is it June? Yeah, probably, most likely. So early June then. So here you can see it, or late May. So we are about to see the numbers at least. So next, or the week after. And the latest numbers, which came in here, EPS was $3.10 adjusted versus 2.81 expected. Revenue was 5 billion versus 4.82 billion. So crushing numbers, let's put it that way. And what happened recently was that announced new graphic cards designed for mining cryptocurrencies like Ethereum, which the company said would allow it to boost stock for gamers who want the same cards to run graphically intense games. So you can already see that they're now using also to some extent blockchain technology, and are also well positioned within this space. And this is adding further value to the overall or already prosperous, let's say, outlook for Nvidia here in the AI sector. And finally, we have bots, probably something you haven't heard about as of now, even though I highly recommend giving it a deeper look. So what bots does, it provides market cap selected and weighted exposure to companies involved in the development and production of robots or artificial intelligence. So bots is an ETF here, which consists of these companies. So Nvidia obviously plays a very important role here, but we have also Brooks Automation, we have ABB Limited, Renishaw, we have Fong Corporation, Yaskawa Electric, and so on and so forth. That being said, this is definitely an investment idea for a broader, more diversified outlook, even though, and this is now the thing, we have to be a little careful here, because again, if inflation expectations pick up and if yields start to rise, there is a high chance that there will be a leg lower, especially in this growth sector, in the AI sector. And this could lead here to a break significantly below 30 USD. This is something to keep in mind, at least short term. Let's see. I mean, it depends a little on how aggressive a sellout would happen. I mean, just have a look here. In March, for example, we traded around 22 USD per piece. And we saw a drop, which brought us to as low as 14 USD, only then to see the value here to more than double within the next 12 months. So it could be that there's a sharper leg lower, and what I certainly want to see is a potential retest here of these highs around 22. But, and this is now the thing, we should keep in mind such a drop here of something like 12 USD here is close to a 50% decline, 40-50% decline, if there is kind of deleveraging and push higher in yields. And what's interesting now when it comes to Admirals here in this context is, let me just here switch over. So we have on the website admirals.com the possibility here to search for products. And as you may have guessed, bots is tradable, but it's not just tradable, but bots here is a CFD. It's the Global X Robotics and Artificial Intelligence ETF CFD, which means since we are trading rights here and have an easy opportunity to trade short, we can also short bots if we expect this flush lower below 30 and try to profit from the short side and then push lower here first and then trade the other way around and try to anticipate a run higher in this ETF. So definitely something to keep an eye on. And as you have already seen here, that was a Wikipedia article on Baidu. That is number, let me just see here. This is number 4. So as you can see, I have nothing prepared. That was just a thought I had shortly before I started the webinar. And as I already talked about here, that was this massive run higher. As you can see, the stock nearly, well, what was it? Tripled. Yeah, it nearly tripled. That was Baidu in the first 2 months of 2021. I'm not really sure whether it was the growth outlook for the artificial intelligence space, or it was more like some aggressive bets which were taken from Akego's hedge fund manager Bill Wang, and here aggressively betting on a sharp rise higher and buying some out of the money calls here or something like that. What you can also see is that we saw a near collapse of the price of Baidu stocks here. That was due to the massive liquidation which took place here in the late March. And you can also see it here with this massive increase in volume. So this is NASDAQ volume, so real volume which was traded. So what you can see here is that there was this massive spike higher due to the block trades being done here around this time. But also here, we are now reaching a region where I say this is getting interesting from a pure technical standpoint. So we already retested the region of the early 2009 highs here. Then we saw this massive drop, and then the run higher kept on holding here above around 130, and after the break above 150, there was no looking back from there. So now coming into this region is giving us a quite attractive, also longer term, a quite attractive risk reward for in engagements. But before we continue to talk about this, let's just jump here over to the Wikipedia article, just give you an introduction of who Baidu is. So Baidu is a Chinese company. It means 100 times or 100 degrees here. And it's a Chinese multinational technology company which specializes in internet-related services and products and artificial intelligence, with a main focus on machine learning. And it is one of the largest AI and internet companies in the world, in fact. So this alone gives you an idea on why Baidu should be on your watch list if you plan to invest in your money in the AI space. And the holding company here of the group is incorporated in the Cayman Islands, blah, so on and so forth, some details. All in all, we can say, given this interesting, do we have it here? This technical, interesting region we are currently approaching, I think Baidu is definitely worth a deeper look. And it's not just that you can trade here the stock. So from a trading perspective, it's also very attractive, very liquid stock. But in addition to that, you can also invest in Baidu. Let me just type in Baidu here. You can not just trade it, this the CFD, which you can here realize by the hashtag, but also here without, it's the Baidu stock, which you can trade physically with the invest solution. Here, longer term without swaps coming into play and all that, but unleveraged in the invest solution MT5, which you can also trade with or invest with when it comes to Admirals. So yeah, that's it on my AI top 4 stocks, and that brings us here to the summary of this presentation. So first of all, artificial intelligence is intelligence demonstrated by machines, unlike the natural intelligence displayed by humans and animals, which involves consciousness and emotionality. The global artificial intelligence AI software market is forecast to grow rapidly in the coming years. As you probably might have guessed, based on what we just witnessed also in this little introductional video I just presented to you in the deep learning space. And it's expected to reach around 126 billion USD dollar by 2025. The overall AI market includes a wide array of applications such as natural language processing, also known as NLP, robotic process automation, and machine learning. And the top 3 AI stocks I presented to you, stocks / ETF, I have to say, because bots is an ETF. It's it's Pinterest, Nvidia, and bots, and plus Baidu. We should definitely have also an eye on. And yeah, so that brings us here to the last slide. And to tell you, don't forget to join us next time. So by the way, again, if you like what you just saw, please leave a thumb up here on YouTube, subscribe to the YouTube channel, set a reminder for the next webinar, leave a comment below. Yes, everything. And now I want to also invite you to the next webinar taking place together with Paul, and he will answer the question, how can we trade using market structure? And this webinar includes also the question answer to the question, what is market structure, and how do we identify it in our charts? What do we need to be aware of when trading market structure? And then how can we best trade this market structure? And the webinar will take place 2 p.m. London, same time as today, on the 21st of May, that's Friday. And if you already registered for the Trading Spotlight webinar series on the website from Admirals, then you will get an invitation link to your inbox directly. If you watch this on YouTube now, head over to admirals.com, there to the education and the webinars tab, and there register for the how can we trade using market structure webinar, which is then already highlighted within the website, which opens. And so here are the contact details from Admirals. And in fact, highly regulated broker. That means at the end, we have to show here a risk disclaimer. That's it from my end. So all the best. Happy trading. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out, and I'll be happy to answer your questions. And yeah, have a nice day.